Good morning, everybody. Cowboy here. It is the 2nd of January 2025 is now in full effect. So let's go ahead and jump right into the charts. Taking a look at Bitcoin here, I did put out on Twitter that for the moment, the local bottom might be in. One interesting statistic, though, is that let me get this statistic out about January's in general. 9 out of the last 10 years, Bitcoin has put the low or the high of the year in January. 9 out of 10 years. So it might be that we see the high of the year because chances are at this time in the bull market, it won't be the low, right? The low of the year will probably be towards the end of the year, but you never know. But the most famous last words in trading are this time it's different, right? Now, sometimes it is different, but the odds are that it's not. So, by that statistic, now it's not a lot of data points. When I want data points, I want to have like hundreds of data points or at least 100, right? Before I start making a thesis. But I will say that it might be that the high is not quite in yet. And the chances are we would see it in the next month, right? Just according to the data. Right now, 2021, I believe, that was a little different. We had a double peak, kind of a double top high. And that high was almost as high, or it was a little bit higher than we saw in January, right? So we'll go back to 2021. We'll take a look at that. But if we just take a look at that simple thesis, it would say that we're going to probably see the high before the end of the month. Okay, so just something to understand. And that's Bitcoin, right? It doesn't mean the altcoins will see their highs, but it means that they'll probably see them soon after. Now, the market has changed quite a bit. So we don't know for a fact that, things are what they are. Got a nice good morning from Mab Vet. But the odds are what the odds are, right? So let's go ahead and jump into the chart. Now, I did put on in our group here last night that I do think we've seen the local bottom. It might have happened just because of the way the algos are looking. I haven't gotten exactly what I want to see on the algos for me to be comfortable saying that for sure, though. It might be that there's going to be a pullback before price goes up, but this movement that we're seeing here, you can see that I predicted it pretty well up until this point, and the farther out your predictions go, the less likely they are to be true. So the price really followed my prediction great for about, let me see here, I made it on Sunday, so 4 or 5 days, just right perfect. And now it appears we might be seeing a divergence, right? So you're seeing price heading up. So if that's the case, then obviously this last bit of contingency will be gone. This one's gone. The main prediction was the best prediction so far, but it appears that this move down may not be happening, right? Now, not to say that it couldn't pull back down and happen. I'm going to leave the prediction as it stands right here, but I will go ahead and add a contingency that what we might see, and I'll make this a dotted line contingency so that you understand it wasn't my main prediction, but that price may go ahead, head up here, bounce, and make a move up, or it could even head back down and move up. But right now, as it stands with the algos, any of these things can happen. It really could go either way. This is what I said last night. I was kind of 50-50 that local bottom is in, right? So the local bottom being that 91,500 or so drop right about here. So, and that'd be great. I would love to see that. We'll see how it goes. Now, if we see a top in January, I would imagine it would be rather explosive, although that might not happen. I remember 2021, which we'll go ahead and take a look back at. Well, before we do that, I'll just give you what I think the top is going to be. I think the top would be minimally 120,000, right? And I'll put a little line here. This is the end of January. And this top could really look like anything. And we'll back out to a higher time frame to kind of forecast that. So, what I'm about to do is going to be really very loose. It could do a lot of different stuff. So I wouldn't, first of all, none of this is investment advice, as you know. But secondly, even with these predictions being relatively accurate at times, I wouldn't take this too much for gospel. But when you take a look at this move up, this large move up from here to here, this impulse, as it were, from November through mid-December, I've already I've imposed a Fibonacci on top of that. And the 1.618 for that is up at 133. And that's a nice top. Now, it might go ahead and peak above that. It might not. It might explode up. It might just kind of, I'm expecting a strong move if there is going to be a move. I've got some local targets right here, 108, 113, 118, right? Those are just some local targets based on a lower fib. But actually, no, it's based on a different algo. But long story short, 120 is my minimum top here. We might see 120, but 120 would be kind of a truncated impulse. I would expect it to go to at least 133. And my sweet spot really for the top this cycle has been 140 to 160. Now, it might not make it that far. It might not even make it past 108. We might have seen the high already. But according to that statistic, chances are we haven't. So there's a decent chance price will do whatever it does, bounce around a little bit, maybe, maybe not, might just head straight up, and we might see the highs happen. But my algos haven't called for that just yet. My algos are saying it could happen, but it's not saying it's happening, right? So, and algos with indicators, they lag. Like, they're going to tell you a little bit after the fact in a certain way. In another way, they're going to give you information ahead of time. But I don't know that we want to go too deep into that kind of theory. Let's take a look at 2021's high. So you can kind of see how that went, at least in January. So this is the daily chart. I'm going to go to the weekly. And we'll just focus on Bitcoin for today because Bitcoin runs the crypto market. We know that. So you can see that in 2021, the yearly low was put in January, right? It actually didn't drop down below that until 2022. So there is that possibility that is completely outside of what I've discussed, is that, look at this. Let me put some lines in. I don't want to give you guys the hopium here. I don't want to make you too excited and get too moon boyish on you. But take a look at this. The lowest price of 2021 was in January, believe it or not, and that was the year of the peak. So there's your low right there. Now, the natural peak happened in April. What I think was the natural peak. I'm only saying what I think happened because no one really knows. But 2021 was unique because we had a lot of people at home throwing their stimmy checks into the market, and it popped back up and made another high in, when was this? November. Right, November we saw it at about 69,000. But what I think the natural high was about 65,000, and it happened in April. So in this case, the low of the year was in January, and we could see that. We could see that it just it already made its low, right? It could have been yesterday, and that it's going to head up from here. It is possible. It could also be possible that if we go back to 2018, see here, 2018, there's January. The high in 2018 was at 17,440, right? So, and this is the end of the year right there. So the high in that year was right here. And what gives us the hopium, right? That makes us be a little bit optimistic, if you will, is that this high of the year happened after the peak of the cycle, which happened to be in December. So what gives us the hopium here is that the peak in 2021 didn't happen until April. So it might kind of stand to reason that we might be seeing the low. Let's move to the present here. This pullback here that's got all my drawings on it might have been the low. So there is that bit of hopium. There's that little bit. So we might be in for a nice ride. We'll see. All right, let's take a look at, we are actually at the end of the public live lab. I'm going to take a brief look at Solana, which is just doing great. Solana is sitting at 208, and it's really popped up nicely, following my prediction really well. I had a double prediction. I should have had one of these as a contingency, but it was based on Bitcoin. So I was right, but I was also wrong, right? So I had it possibly going down to 180. I was wrong about that, but I did have it going up to about 210, and I was right about that. So, I don't want to take complete credit for it, but as to this particular prediction, it was pretty accurate. So that's Solana. And let me take a brief look at some other cryptos. Yeah, a lot of cryptos are doing okay here. Uniswap, Adam. I'm looking for something exemplary in the crypto world. And the best place, like kind of the most predictable place to look is Radium. Radium's been doing real well. I'm running out of batteries here. I expect Radium to go all the way up, and this will be our last forecast for the show. And again, not investment advice here, but I expect Radium to go up to about $8.50, $9, and I expect it to go pretty soon. If Bitcoin is going to pop up, I would have a target for Radium at about $8.60 or so, $8.60, and that's $5.40 right now. So you're looking at better than a 50% right there. And in the real world, that's freaking great. That's miraculous. Now, if we're to see this thesis where we've seen the low of the year in January for Bitcoin, then this Radium could go really high. Remember, Radium and Solana, for that matter, and Jupiter also are where the meme coins meme. So that's really what this cycle has been. There's been some pretty exciting stuff happening in the AI space for sure, but it seems to me that it's been about the meme coins, and it'll probably continue to be so. It's where the money seems to be going this cycle, and that's just, I think, what it's going to be unless the rules change or unless something else happens that I can't predict. So either way, that's what I got for you. Radium at the near-term target at about 860. For the meantime, thanks for coming, and go ahead and leave comments if you guys want to see something. Make a request over on X or wherever else, or come to algofactory.tech. These kind of predictions I'm making, a lot of them are algorithm. Cannot talk today. Many of them are algo based, right? And all that data you see at the bottom of the screen, that's just indicators. I mean, I tweak them a little bit, but those are your basic indicators like that people use. It's nothing fancy. What's fancy about it, and it's not even that fancy, is I combine them and I use basic data science to be able to create a predictive model. And when you have a predictive model, that enables you to have some form of expectation, right? In fact, the number is called expectancy. And people make money doing this and have for a long time. It's nothing new, but the way that I teach it is a little bit different than others. And we've had people with a lot of success at algofactory.tech. So come on over, check us out. In the meantime, we're going to hop over to the private live lab. So thank you all for watching. And finally, never forget.
Join us or die.